How's it going, everyone? It is I, Anime Outlet, and this is part 3 of What If Deku Had a Half Air, Half Water Quirk. And now, let's begin. With the zero-pointer's fingers increasingly going on towards Izuku, all of a sudden he would start manipulating the air around him, turning it into wind, as he would start violently twisting and turning around him, blowing as hard as he could, causing Izuku to be propelled upwards, as he was now floating in midair. The zero-pointer would turn its gaze towards the now floating Izuku, as Izuku would stare towards it with a smile on his face. He would grabbing into his hand a concentrated ball of water before throwing it towards the zero-pointer, causing the ball to shatter right on towards the face of it. As the water would start dripping down its head, all of a sudden Izuku would fall backwards, completely disappearing, before reappearing right where the puddle of water was on the zero-pointer. As he would reappear on it, Izuku would grab a hold of the top of it before pulling himself upwards, smashing the inside of the zero-pointer before peeling it back open. As Izuku would peel the zero-pointer's faceplate back, he would end up diving into it, pulling apart the different wires, as the zero-pointer would end up malfunctioning before falling down to the ground. After that, Izuku would run around gathering more and more points, where he would end up hearing that the test was over after just a couple of minutes. And with that, Izuku would walk back to the Yaoyorozu's house, meeting up with Momo Yaoyorozu, of course. Taking her back home, her parents would ask both of them how they think they did, which both of them would respond they thought they did quite well, as both of them had been split up into the two different types, or the two different selection exams, or I kind of forgot the word what it was called. Basically, they were picked out of the group because they were deemed special, either because of their family or something else. So with that, 2 weeks later, both of them would get a letter in the mail that said they had both made Class 1A. Both of them would smile, or just congratulating each other, as the next day would follow, where they would end up going into class, just smiling as can be, walking in, where they would then just see all of their new classmates. As Izuku would sit down, with the sight of a familiar face would end up walking in. Sitting down, Izuku could tell the person that sat in front of him was quite familiar. However, something seemed off about them. They looked very familiar to him. However, there was just some quality about them that just really made it so, just made something different about that person. Izuku would stare on towards the red-headed person who would turn around. Hello, my name is Toto. What's yours? Oh, my name's Izuku. So, what's your quirk? Izuku asked the red-headed boy. Oh, I just have a simple fire quirk, they would say, lighting it up onto one of their hands. Oh, that's cool. I have a water and air quirk, Izuku would say, creating both an air and water orb before slamming both of them together, combining both of them. Izuku would hold it in his hand, with his hand strained from the sheer power, as wind would be blowing all around the water orb. Izuku would then crush it within his hand, before staring up towards the teacher, as the teacher ended up walking into the classroom. Hello, class. Today we are going to be doing a simple training exercise, just to see where all of you are at. I want to see this just to make sure all of you are capable of being in the hero course. So, no problem. Let's go on down towards training site E. Go find the locker rooms, put your PE uniforms on, I hope all of you know what that is, and find me at just dirt site E, alright? That's where we're going to be training for today. Go. I saw what would say as all of them would end up running out of there, looking towards wherever the locker rooms were. They would go off as Izuku would find the locker rooms, changing into his PE uniforms before heading off towards the testing site. Once there, Izuku and the rest of his class would basically just be wondering what was about to happen. Izuku would be tossed the ball before just saying, "Alright, you, toss the ball as far as you can that way, alright?" He would say as Izuku would nod his head. As he would wind back his arm, he would throw the ball as far as he could, as Aizawa would end up looking down. 100 meters. Quite good. Now use your Quirk, he would say, tossing him another ball. Izuku would nod his head, winding back his arm, throwing it into the distance, as, using his wind Quirk, he would propel it even further, as he would end up going 1,200 yards. Next up, Momo would being told to do it as she would create a cannon, putting the ball into the cannon, firing it off just around 1,500 meters. As the rest of the class would see this, a just pink-haired woman would end up saying, "Oh, this looks so cool! I can't wait to go. Can I go next?" As Aizawa would end up blatantly looking at her. "Fun? Cool, you say? You were trying to become a hero. There's not going to be much fun when you see one die right in front of you. What if it's your friend or your family member? Look, becoming a hero, yes, it may be fun to train with all your friends, but it's not going to be fun in the line of duty having to see so many faces die right in your hands. So, how about this? Just as a little punishment for that, the person who gets last place gets expelled from UA." As would end up hearing this and saying, "What? You can't do that, can you?" "Of course I can. I'm a teacher here. Of course I hate the paperwork, but that doesn't stop me." As they would end up going through all of the different tests, as Izuku would end up getting around second place, Momo in first, and just Toto would end up getting in third, Bakugo would be fourth, and so on and so forth. Mineta would get last, however Aizawa wouldn't just expel Mineta, seeing as everyone had potential in the class. We cut forward a couple weeks as we now end up seeing everyone walk into class, where they end up seeing All Might standing there up at the front of the board. Once there, they would end up basically just being told that they were going to be training with a special group of 3. After that, 3 people would walk in, and I would motion towards them. "This is UA's Big 3. They're going to be teaching you how to fight one-on-one. So, why don't you introduce yourselves?" "Oh, I'm Nejire Hado," a blue-haired person would say, right in the middle of the two others. "Oh, I'm Mirio." "I'm Tamaki," someone else would say, as the rest of the class would just nod their heads. Before being taken down to put their PE uniforms on, they would head off into an enclosed area, an enclosed gym where they would be training. Mirio would stand before all of them before looking around. "Alright, to start this off, why don't all of you go against me?" he would say, pointing to his chest. All of them would their heads, thinking this was just going to be an easy fight. It was like 20-some kids against one person. That really just doesn't seem fair. All of them would stare towards Mirio as the match would begin. Many of the students would rush towards him, only to go for a punch or an attack to see he would phase right through them, or their attacks would phase through him. As they would see this, all of a sudden he would become solid again, punching them right in the stomach. As they would end up seeing this, all of this, Mirio would twist around, punching another kid, knocking him out or throwing him to the floor. Izuku would back up further and further until he was the last one left, smiling, laughing. "Well, Mirio, I guess it's just you and me, one-on-one," he would say, pointing towards Mirio. Toto would lay on the floor, looking towards Izuku with a smirk on his face. There's no way he's going to be able to take out Mirio. He tried using his fire, and it didn't even lay a scratch or burn on him. There's no chance Asuka, with a mere water or air quirk, could lay a scratch on him. There's no chance. Think to himself. Suzuki would stare towards him. All of the sudden, Mirio would rush towards him, going for a punch, phasing through Izuku's body, when all of this and the entire ground would be flooded with an inch of water, as Izuku would fall backwards, disappearing completely. Mirio would look around before all of the sudden, Izuku would appear right behind him, going for a punch, only to have it phase right through Mirio. Instantly, Izuku would turn his punch, flipping down into his water, disappearing once again. As everyone would be looking around, wondering where Izuku was, as all of a sudden Izuku would appear from the air, falling down onto Mirio. He would use his air quirk, going for a punch once again before swiping upwards, causing the air to propel himself before creating just a flick of water. As his water would freeze into ice, as his air would just blow so rapidly it would chill the water's temperature down, turning it into ice, causing this ice droplet to be flicked right at Mario's head, piercing his forehead, causing him to fall down to the ground. Well, you managed to land a shot on me. That's pretty good, before he ended up jumping towards Izuku. However, Izuku would disappear once again, as both of them would jump towards each other, going for a punch. With both of their punches landing on towards each other, their power would force both of them to be sent flying backwards. As Aizawa would call the match then and there. Good job, you two. I'm gonna call the match for now. Save it for in a couple months. We'll see how far both of you have gone, alright? Alright, both of them would say, as we end up seeing Nejire walk up to Izuku. I'm surprised seeing you here again, huh, Izuku? I'm so surprised you managed to even lay a hit on Mirio, let alone tie him. I couldn't even do that up until a couple of weeks ago. She would say, just in utter awe towards Izuku. Yeah, I guess it's kind of surprising, seeing as he took out the entirety of my class besides me. So, are you a third year, I'm guessing? Yeah, I'm a third year, she would say. Can't believe I'm in the big three after all either. Just trained as hard as I could, somehow managed to get here. Maybe one day you'll be in the big three. Who knows? She would say before the day would end up being over, with Mirio giving some vital lessons for all of them. Never underestimate your opponent, no matter how outnumbered or weak they may look or seem. It doesn't matter, they might have a strong quirk, or they might just be stronger than an entire group, or have a quirk that allows them to take care of crowd control. You never know. That's why you should never underestimate your opponent. You should always also use teamwork to your advantage. As Izuku's class hadn't used teamwork at all, merely just running at them individual after individual. The next day, Izuku would walk into class, as he would end up seeing Aizawa sitting up at the front desk. Well, class, today is your first hero class, so I hope you all are excited. All of the sudden, stomping would end up being heard from outside the doorway, as the door would be sent flying off its hinges, as there stood in the doorway was a shiny yellow golden figure. With a bright smile on its face, it would end up looking on towards the class of the future. Good morning, future heroes, he would say in a giant, echoey voice. Today we are going to be beginning your first hero class. And thankfully, the support course has supplied us with your hero costumes. So, here they are, he would say, pressing a button as all of the suitcases would fly out of the walls, flying towards each of the students, being launched at such an angle it would go landing right on their desk. Izuku would flip open his before smiling on towards him. It was a basic design that allowed him to use his water and air to its fullest extent. Izuku would end up looking towards Momo's costume, so he cut forward to see all of and putting their hero costumes on before walking out of the locker rooms. Once Asuka would meet up with Momo once again, he would look towards Momo's costume. That's a bit revealing, Momo, don't you think? Asuka would say. And that is where part 3 of What If Deku Had a Half Air, Half Water Quirk comes to an end. I hope you all did enjoy it, and if you did, please consider subscribing, as it really does help this channel out, and you can even be notified when the other parts of this series do end up coming out. I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.